The concept of criminal mind manipulation is present in the criminal code. It describes a specific type of psychological influence aimed at driving someone to commit illegal acts. Often, it is employed during the planning and execution of unlawful schemes to draw a particular individual or group into these actions. Manipulators may play on emotions or resort to blackmail. But what happens when a criminal duo consists of two manipulators, each believing themselves to be the smarter and more dominant one? This question lies at the heart of a chilling case involving a young woman named Paspalakis and her husband, Costa Fotopoulos. This case shook the peaceful resort town of Daytona Beach in Volusia County, Florida, in November 1989. Lisa was shot in the head while asleep in her bed. Her husband, Costa, apprehended the shooter on the spot, preventing him from fleeing. Initially, it seemed like an open and shut case. The attacker was dead, and Costa appeared to be a hero. However, the investigation revealed a far more sinister story involving multiple accomplices, each with hidden motives and a belief they could evade justice. Lisa Paspalakis came from a wealthy family of Greek immigrants. Her parents moved to the United States in the early 1960s and built a successful business in a popular tourist area, eventually owning several profitable companies. Lisa was the eldest of two children, with a younger brother, Dino. After graduating from the University of South Florida with a degree in economics and accounting, she joined her family business, managing finances for several companies. Costa Fotopoulos was born and raised on the Greek island of Euboea. After finishing high school, he immigrated to the United States to further his education at a university in Florida. Ambitious and charismatic, Costa was determined to live a glamorous high society lifestyle. Lisa's parents, wanting their daughter to marry within the Greek community, considered Costa an ideal match. The couple accepted their parents' choice, and a lavish wedding was arranged. Although the marriage was traditional and arranged, they appeared genuinely happy. In 1988, Lisa's father passed away, and she and Costa moved in with her grieving mother and brother. Costa used funds from Lisa's family to open a bar called Top Shots Pool Hall in early 1989. Despite his lavish spending habits and fascination with firearms, Costa managed to turn the bar into a popular spot. He employed local runaways for odd jobs, instilling in them a mix of fear and admiration by boasting about his wealth and influence. In the spring of 1989, a young woman named Dedra Hunt arrived in Daytona Beach. Attractive and aware of her charm, Dedra found a job as a waitress at Costa's bar, where she quickly caught his attention. Their romance blossomed, although they tried to keep it discreet. Costa began supporting her lavishly, even setting her up in a nearby hotel. However, Lisa soon suspected her husband's infidelity, and when she confirmed it, she confronted him, threatening divorce and financial ruin unless he ended the affair. Costa pretended to comply, but he feared losing his luxurious lifestyle and access to Lisa's family wealth. He began plotting Lisa's murder, intending to make it look like a burglary gone wrong. To execute his plan, Costa enlisted the help of street kids who admired him. On November 4, 1989, Lisa's brother Dino was awoken by gunshots. He called the police, and together they found a horrific scene: Lisa, critically injured, lying in a pool of blood, and a young man, dead on the floor with a revolver nearby. Costa claimed he had shot the intruder in self-defense. Lisa was rushed to the hospital, where she was soon declared out of danger. Strangely, Costa contacted his lawyer, seeking protection from any legal consequences, even though he was publicly hailed as a hero. However, detectives found suspicious details at the crime scene. The sliding door had been shattered, but glass was scattered on both sides, suggesting it was broken from inside. Additionally, the intruder hadn't taken anything valuable and had gone straight to the bedroom. 3 days after the attack, a young man contacted the police, claiming that Dedra had hired him to kill Lisa. Dedra was quickly arrested and, fearing for her life, cooperated with investigators. She revealed that Costa had promised her a lavish life, but only if Lisa was removed from the picture. Dedra recounted that she had hired 18-year-old Brian Chase to carry out the murder, supplying him with a gun Costa had given her. Costa planned the attack meticulously, even shattering the glass himself. Chase was instructed to shoot Lisa in the head, but his gun jammed after the first shot. At that moment, Costa fired at Chase, killing him. Further investigation revealed that Costa and Dedra had murdered another young man, Mark Kevin Ramsey, weeks earlier. Costa and Dedra had lured Ramsey into the woods under the pretense of an initiation ritual. Costa filmed Dedra shooting Ramsey using the footage as leverage to keep her silent. When police arrested Costa, he denied all allegations, claiming Dedra was a manipulative liar. However, Lisa testified that Costa had promised to end his affair after she threatened him with divorce. Lisa also noticed Costa behaving suspiciously near their backyard shortly before the attack. A search led to the discovery of a hidden handgun with a silencer, which matched the weapon used to kill Ramsey. Investigators also found the tape of Dedra shooting Ramsey. During the trial in October 1990, Lisa testified that the voice on the tape was unmistakably her husband's. Dedra tried to shift the blame onto Costa, but the footage showed her calm and unthreatened. Costa maintained his innocence, yet the evidence, particularly the tape, was damning. On October 25, 1990, both Costa and Dedra were found guilty of conspiracy, the murder of Ramsey, and the attempted murder of Lisa. Costa was also found guilty of killing Brian Chase. The pair was sentenced to death by electric chair. In 1995, Dedra's sentence was commuted to life imprisonment without parole, while Costa remains on death row, awaiting his fate. The story of Lisa Paspalakis and Costa Fotopoulos is a chilling testament to the dangers of manipulation, greed, and betrayal. Costa Fotopoulos, once a charismatic figure in the Daytona Beach community, manipulated and charmed his way into a life of luxury, only to let his lust for power and wealth turn him into a ruthless criminal. Dedra Hunt, who found herself entangled in Costa's schemes, became both his lover and accomplice, swept along by the promise of a glamorous future. Their twisted partnership revealed the extent of Costa's control over those around him, especially the young and impressionable. Costa's manipulation tactics, using street youth and Dedra as pawns, displayed his ability to play on the vulnerabilities of others for his gain. However, this psychological control was his undoing. His elaborate plots to eliminate his wife and secure his fortune through her murder were ultimately too audacious, leaving behind evidence that pointed directly back to him. The trial highlighted not only Costa's cruel intentions but also Dedra's own willingness to participate in his dark plans. Despite attempts to cast herself as another victim of Costa's manipulation, the evidence showed her as a willing accomplice, actively participating in the murder of an innocent young man and attempting to eliminate Lisa. Her background and troubled past added a layer of tragedy to her story, but it did not excuse her role in the crimes. Lisa Paspalakis, despite being the primary victim of this deadly scheme, emerged resilient. Her testimony against her husband was vital in securing the convictions of both Costa and Dedra. By identifying his voice on the tape and providing critical details about his behavior, she dismantled Costa's carefully constructed facade, revealing him as the mastermind behind the brutal attempts on her life. This case not only shocked the residents of Daytona Beach but also captivated the media and public. Costa, who once flaunted his connections and wealth, found himself exposed as a manipulative, greedy individual willing to go to unimaginable lengths to achieve his ambitions. Dedra, drawn into Costa's orbit, ultimately paid a heavy price for her involvement. Costa Fotopoulos' appeals have been unsuccessful, and he continues to sit on death row, reflecting the unrelenting consequences of his actions. Dedra, now serving life without parole, remains a tragic figure who let her own ambitions and misguided loyalty lead her down a path of irreversible ruin. This case serves as a haunting reminder of the consequences of unchecked manipulation and betrayal. For Costa and Dedra, their twisted alliance, born out of desire and deceit, led them both to a life of confinement and condemnation. And for Lisa, though scarred by her near-fatal encounter, her courage and determination ensured that justice was served, bringing an end to one of Florida's most notorious cases of criminal manipulation and betrayal. The legacy of Costa Fotopoulos and Dedra Hunt's crimes reverberated long after the trial. The brutal events of 1989 left a lasting impact on the Daytona Beach community, a place where Lisa's family had once been respected and admired. For the Paspalakis family, the trauma of betrayal and violence struck deep, reshaping their lives and altering the once bright future that had been anticipated for Lisa. While Lisa survived the ordeal, her journey to recovery was long and challenging, marked by physical healing and emotional resilience as she processed the shocking truth about the man she had married. As the media continued to report on Costa's appeals and attempts to overturn his sentence, the public's interest in the case remained strong. True crime enthusiasts, legal experts, and journalists analyzed the motives, manipulations, and disturbing psychological dynamics that drove Costa and Dedra to commit their heinous acts. Costa's life on death row became a topic of speculation as he awaited his final fate, his once charismatic persona reduced to the silence and isolation of prison. Dedra Hunt's life sentence without the possibility of parole meant she would spend her days reflecting on her decisions and the path that led her to such a bleak outcome. Her background and troubled upbringing were dissected in court and in the media, highlighting how her difficult past may have influenced her susceptibility to Costa's manipulative charm. While she portrayed herself as a victim of Costa's influence, her role as a willing accomplice could not be ignored, and the public largely viewed her with a mix of fascination and disdain. For law enforcement and legal professionals, the case became a point of reference, showcasing the complexities of criminal psychology, manipulation, and the dangers of unchecked ambition. Costa's ability to deceive and influence those around him underscored the need for vigilance against individuals who prey on others' vulnerabilities, particularly within close-knit communities like Daytona Beach's Greek community. As time passed, Lisa worked to rebuild her life, striving to put the horror behind her. She became an emblem of survival and courage, a reminder of the strength it took to not only survive a nearly fatal attack but also to face her husband in court, confronting him with the truth. Her resilience inspired those who heard her story, and she became a quiet advocate for victims of domestic manipulation and violence, though she largely stayed out of the public eye to maintain her privacy. In the years following, the case of Costa Fotopoulos and Dedra Hunt was recounted in true crime documentaries, articles, and books, analyzed for its unique blend of psychological manipulation, ambition, and cold-blooded calculation. The legacy of this tragic case is a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind closed doors and the devastating consequences of greed and betrayal. It is a story that endures as a cautionary tale, reflecting the thin line between charm and manipulation, ambition and ruthlessness, and love and betrayal. For those who knew Lisa, Costa, and Dedra, the events of 1989 are more than just a headline. They are a painful chapter in the lives of all involved. A chapter that serves as a testament to the resilience of one woman and the destructive power of manipulation unchecked. The repercussions of the Fotopoulos case extended beyond the immediate families involved, influencing broader discussions on domestic abuse, psychological manipulation, and the hidden dangers within seemingly prosperous relationships. Lisa Paspalakis' harrowing experience underscored the importance of recognizing red flags in relationships and brought attention to the psychological abuse that can precede physical violence. Her bravery in confronting Costa in court became a powerful narrative of empowerment for victims of manipulation, abuse, and betrayal, shining a light on the strength required to pursue justice. In the aftermath of the trial, the Paspalakis family found ways to channel their grief and trauma into supporting their community. Friends and relatives rallied around them, and over time they became advocates for awareness around issues like emotional manipulation, the risks of controlling relationships, and the importance of a support system for victims. Lisa, while maintaining her privacy, supported local organizations focused on domestic violence, even contributing anonymously to shelters and counseling services for abuse survivors. She sought to quietly empower others who had suffered similar fates, becoming a symbol of resilience and a voice for the vulnerable. Meanwhile, Costa's life on death row became symbolic of a cautionary tale, a reminder of how unchecked ambition, greed, and manipulation could consume a person entirely. His numerous appeals painted a picture of a man unwilling to accept accountability, attempting to shift blame, even when confronted with overwhelming evidence of his crimes. His refusal to express remorse or take responsibility only further cemented public opinion against him, and his appeals were met with little sympathy. Over the years, his notoriety faded as the case transitioned from headline news to a grim chapter in Florida's legal history. Dedra Hunt, serving a life sentence, underwent significant scrutiny regarding her role in the crimes. While some sympathized with her troubled past, others found it hard to reconcile her willing involvement in the murder of an innocent young man and her participation in plotting Lisa's death. Her story underscored the complexity of human behavior under manipulation and served as a stark example of how unresolved trauma and a desire for acceptance could lead someone to unimaginable actions. Dedra's sentence ensured she would never be able to pursue the glamorous life Costa had once promised, instead left to confront the full consequences of her actions in the solitude of prison. In true crime circles, the Fotopoulos case became a well-known example of killer couples partners who joined forces in criminal endeavors, driven by shared desires and the promise of power or wealth. Analysts and criminal psychologists cited this case in studies of codependent, toxic relationships where manipulation and control create a dangerous blend of attraction and destruction. Costa's ability to exploit Dedra's vulnerabilities and Dedra's willingness to comply highlighted the toxic symbiosis that can emerge in such partnerships, with each partner feeding off the other's ambition, desire, and weakness. The Daytona Beach community, once shaken by the tragedy, found ways to heal over the years. Local initiatives emerged to raise awareness about the signs of psychological and emotional abuse, encouraging community members to support each other and intervene when they saw troubling patterns in relationships. The case served as a wake-up call, emphasizing that manipulation and control often lurk behind the veneer of wealth, charm, and success. Decades later, the Fotopoulos case remains a powerful reminder of the darkest facets of human behavior, manipulation, and betrayal. It lives on in documentaries, books, and articles as an enduring story of resilience and justice, one that inspires discussions on the importance of psychological well-being, the risks of unchecked ambition, and the strength of those who survive unimaginable betrayal. Over time, the story of Lisa Paspalakis and Costa Fotopoulos became embedded in true crime lore, studied and recounted as a dramatic example of how ambition, manipulation, and betrayal can twist a seemingly normal life into tragedy. The case served as a reference for law enforcement and psychologists alike, illustrating how complex dynamics of power and control can play out in intimate relationships and lead to devastating consequences. For Lisa, the long road to recovery meant piecing together a new life from the remnants of the one Costa nearly destroyed. Her resilience became an inspiration, as she learned not only to cope with the physical trauma of surviving a gunshot wound to the head, but also with the emotional scars left by betrayal. She was supported by close friends, family, and even strangers who had been moved by her story. While she remained largely private, she was a quiet advocate for victims of domestic violence and manipulation, providing support to organizations that work to help others find safety and healing. The case also prompted changes in how the community understood and responded to signs of abuse. Daytona Beach implemented various programs for schools, focusing on relationship education to help young people recognize unhealthy behavior patterns early on. Local authorities also funded outreach programs for at-risk youth, many of whom Costa had manipulated in his schemes to offer better resources and mentorship. The city's efforts underscored the lesson that abuse and manipulation can happen anywhere, even in close-knit, affluent communities. For the legal community, the Fotopoulos case emphasized the critical need for evidence preservation and psychological profiling in cases of intimate partner violence and conspiracy to commit murder. Costa's manipulation of Dedra Hunt and his exploitation of vulnerable youth served as key examples of the tactics some criminals use to draw others into their plans, leveraging psychological influence to control those around them. Criminal psychologists studied the case as a prime example of what is known as coercive control, where a dominant partner uses a combination of charm, fear, and dependency to manipulate their accomplice into criminal activity. In prison, Costa's once charismatic persona faded as he adjusted to the harsh reality of life on death row. His continued appeals over the years failed to bring him any closer to freedom. Each denial underscored the ironclad evidence against him, especially the videotape that became a defining piece of evidence. For Costa, who had once lived lavishly and confidently, manipulated those around him, his confinement was a stark contrast, a daily reminder of the collapse of the empire he had tried to build on deceit and betrayal. Dedra Hunt's life sentence was marked by introspection, as she reportedly struggled with the choices that had led her to this fate. The psychological evaluations and troubled history presented during her trial painted a complex picture, blending vulnerability with a disturbing willingness to participate in violent schemes. Over time, Dedra's story became a study of how manipulation and brokenness can intertwine, creating a deadly combination. While some saw her as a victim, others viewed her as an equal participant in Costa's plans, fully aware of the gravity of their actions. The Fotopoulos case has become a chilling chapter in true crime history. It is a reminder of the destructive potential within toxic relationships, where ambition and manipulation intersect with greed and betrayal. In recounting the case, journalists, authors, and documentarians highlighted not just the shocking nature of the crime, but also the strength it takes to survive such betrayal and seek justice. Today, The story of Lisa Paspalakis' survival and resilience remains an inspiration, while the downfall of Costa Fotopoulos serves as a powerful cautionary tale. The case endures as a stark reminder of the dangers that can lie behind closed doors and the unwavering courage needed to confront those who would manipulate and betray. For those who study it, the Fotopoulos case stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the unbreakable pursuit of justice.